So with my opportunity here, being the first person to present, I want to go do what most natural people would do and ask you guys, do we have any elephant trainers in the room? Perfect. That means you've never heard this story before. So my name is Jaron Jones, and usually when me and Brandon meet for self-narrate opportunities and just opportunities to discuss things that are going on, we have these 1-hour scheduled meetings that usually last 4 hours, maybe 5, depending on if we're talking about music or self-narration. Now, the last time we met, he introduced me to a story that was on an EntreLeadership podcast. And on there, there was a discussion about how to train a circus elephant. Now, thankfully, none of you guys know how to train a circus elephant, or this would be a very boring story for you. So what you do is to train a circus elephant, you first take this very small elephant, it's probably about this big. You take a huge metal stake and you hammer it into the ground. Then you take an even larger chain and grasp and you hook it to that baby elephant's foot. Now, what does that baby elephant naturally do? It tries to run. It has this huge temper tantrum. It just fights and fights and fights and tugs its way because it knows it's an elephant. It's supposed to go across the Serengeti, across the jungle, and spread its massive body out and just see what the world has to offer. But it can't escape this chain. So after a few minutes, it turns into a few hours, maybe a few days. The elephant quits. It decides that it is now bound to this chain for the rest of its life. So 20 years later, you know how they train this same, now over 2-ton elephant? They take a small rope and they tie it just tightly enough around its foot, and they can take a wooden stake, a plastic stake, it can be whatever. They can just slowly chisel it into the ground, not even deep, and that elephant is trained to not go anywhere. It doesn't even try to escape anymore. So that leads to my story. My story is about when I was very young, growing up in Winterville, North Carolina, so small no one's ever heard of it, I know, it's okay. I was raised in a single-parent home, so the people around me, my neighbors, my cousins, all of those became my brothers and my sisters. And I was always looking for acceptance. I was always looking for someone who would take me in because most of the people that were around me were older than I was. Well, I had one person in my neighborhood who always made me feel like I was accepted. He came in back when we were very young, back when there was a Nintendo 1, and Super Mario 1 actually was on the Nintendo. Mighty Ducks was popular at the time, so we played street hockey together. I mean, this guy was one of the greatest people I had ever met. I looked up to him. He was my big brother. He's one I aspired to be like. People picked on me. He wouldn't let them. You know, so this guy was the person I wanted to be like and wanted to spend future years with and growing with each other. But we noticed as I got older, we started to grow separate paths. Now, I was blessed enough to be in a home where every day when I came home, my mother asked me, how was I doing? Was I doing what I love to do? Know what you want to do, and that you can do anything you put your mind to. He didn't have that same opportunity. He grew up in a home where he might not have had that encouragement to be self-aware, know who you are, know your purpose. So when he was trying to fit in, when he was in high school and I was in middle school, we kind of didn't follow the same circles. I was trying to follow my passion, and I started to realize he was trying to follow what other people said he needed to do. So it came to a turning point in our life where I was looking out the window and I heard police sirens. And I saw him running down the street and I didn't even recognize him. It wasn't just because he might have had on clothes that I'd never seen him in before. But when I saw him acting, and I saw him in a manner I knew did not represent who he was. He was being chased by the police because they wanted to question him about a few things that he may or may not have been involved in. I don't know. But I was so disappointed because he had let go of the pen. He had stopped writing his own narrative. And he had started to believe in the narrative that someone else had written for him. Now, if you think about that, that pen that you write for yourself and to write your narrative, that represents that stake in the ground. When you let go of your pen that writes your story, you allow someone to dig deeper, deeper, and deeper into the lie that you're this elephant that can't get away. So what I want you guys to do is always be encouraged to be self-aware, to self-reflect, to know who you are and believe in yourself, to believe in yourself and do it. So with that, that is my story. I hope to continue to spread storytelling and self-empowerment to you all. I appreciate you all for being here, and that's my story. Thank you.